Council meeting, and I would ask all the councillors to be upstanding while we have the affirmation, please. We recognise the traditional owners of the land. We are inspired by the early pioneers and by those who gave their lives for our country. We now ask God's blessing on our deliberations and on our commitment to build a better lifestyle and environment. Thank you. Are there any apologies today? I'm not seeing any. Thank you very much. Confirmation of the minutes of the previous council meetings on the 1st of August, the 15th of August, and the statutory council meeting also on the 15th of August. Thank you, Councillor Haswell.
I'd like you to recognise that the three meetings are an accurate representation.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder in regard to that, please? Thank you, Councillor Irwin. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Any matters arising from those minutes? I'm not seeing any. Oh, I'm not seeing any. Thank you.
Yeah, there is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the meeting, statutory council meeting on that Monday at 12:30. There's no record on those minutes of Councillor Dempsey's statement or my reply or Councillor Haswell's reply. It's not on the, they're not there. I'd just like to get that fixed up if I could. Yeah.
Okay, are we able to bring the minutes, which meeting is it, Councillor Grady? The statutory meeting. Were you able to bring the minutes up on the screen for that, or? Yep. Okay, if you just scroll through and Councillor Grady will point out the point that he's making.
Just before we went into the closed council.
Towards the end of the meeting?
Yeah, just before we went into it. There, just before the standing orders, where the Mayor made a statement. Well, after that, Councillor Dempsey made a statement and I made a statement as well, and they're not there.
Yes, Madam CEO.
Thank you, councillors. Councillors, as it was the standing orders were put aside, suspended, it means that we do not take notes to add into the minutes of the conversations that are held during that time, so they don't form part of the minutes.
Excuse me, I didn't think the standing orders were in place before we both had spoken. I thought they'd come in after. I don't know.
Okay, so what we're saying here is that the conversation when the standing orders is suspended isn't included in the notes, but Councillor Grady is saying that that conversation commenced before the suspension of standing orders, so that's the contentious point, I presume. And your explanation is that it would have been after standing orders were suspended.
That's my understanding.
So we'll have to take that on face value, but we'll certainly have a look through the recordings and work out whether it is in fact correct. Okay, thank you. If we could return to the agenda, please. So any other matters arising from the minutes? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Thank you. Any presentations or awards? No, I'm not seeing any. 5.1, presentation of petitions or joint letters, and we have a recommendation here in regards to a position relating to Inglewood Road in St Arnaud. Thank you, Councillor Ostasevich.
Certainly the recommendation is that Council receives a petition and it be dealt with as urgent business.
Okay, can we get a seconder on that motion? No, as there's no seconder, the motion lapses. Do we have another motion?
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that the petition be received and lay on the table till the next council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Irwin. Could I have a seconder in regard to that motion, please?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Grady. Councillor Irwin, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, Mr Mayor. Look, the reason being that we need to come back with some design work, some costings, and to make sure that it does fit into the flood study at St Arnaud and that it actually fixes the problem. So we just need a little bit of time to actually work on this petition and come back with some solutions.
Thank you very much. Councillor Grady?
No, I think Councillor Irwin's followed that up pretty well, Mr Mayor. I totally agree that we need to do a bit more work on this project before it goes ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Ostasovic?
Certainly I'll speak for the motion, and I apologise to the chamber for making a cock-up of it.
Thank you. Just so everybody is aware, we were going towards, leaning towards option number 2 on the recommendations. Any other councillors like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Irwin, you'd like to sum up?
Nothing further.
Thank you. I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Disclosures of interest or conflicts, any of those? No, I'm not seeing any. Thank you. There are a number of informal meetings of the council conducted over the last couple of months. Community care review, Falls Gap hub transition. There's a number there that I'm sure everybody is aware of. Any councillors like to speak about any of those meetings? No, thank you. Any? Yes, Councillor Ostasovic.
Sorry, Mr Mayor. Just wanted to advise council that the North Central LEN have elected a new chair. Our previous chair, Ellen, has retired, and we have a new chair. And for the life of me, his name slipped my head. Oh my Lord, I'm having trouble today. Anyway, needless to say, we have a new chair in place. My apologies, and I will try and brush my mind up.
And we'll allow you to address that person's name in the councillor reports, if you like. Thank you. Thank you all for that. No items brought forward today. Consideration of the reports of officers, 9.1.1, the club request for a waiver of fees. And we have a recommendation from the Stall Mountaineers rugby team. Can I get a motion in regard to that recommendation, please, or a similar recommendation?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'll move that council waives the user fees for the Stall Mountaineers NRL rugby team for the 22-23 season.
Thank you very much.
Mr Mayor, I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Haswell. Councillor Irwin?
Yes, Mr Mayor, look, this is a brand new club and they're trying to get up and going, and I think it's right that we give them a little boost to try and get the club operating. I've seen one game of rugby, I must admit. I don't mind watching rugby, but I have to when my son-in-law plays rugby, so I better stick up for the family here. But look, I think it's good that these people take on a role in trying to get a new club up and going. We've seen what the soccer club's done, and there was a tremendous turnout over the weekend for the soccer club. So hopefully they're just as successful in their endeavours. So wish them all the best for the future.
Thank you very much. Councillor Haswell?
Yes, well put. I'm happy to give them a hand, even though it's rugby league, not rugby union. But yeah, happy to help out in this instance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Ostasovic?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think it's really important as part of the education campaign for Central Victoria, North Central Victoria and Western Victoria that the Rugby League is present installed now, and more power to their arm. Hopefully the education campaign will extend and educate you all in the finer points, but when we finally get a rugby union team here, there'll be even more celebration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Irwin, would you like to sum up?
Nothing further, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. 9.1.2, the sporting facilities upgrades. And we have quite a lengthy recommendation here. So can I get a motion in regard to that recommendation or some other motion?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that Council A notes the additional $300,000 secured in grant funding towards the Great Western Club Rooms and Change Rooms capital project. B, notes the project budget increase of $450,000 to the Navarre Club Rooms and Change Rooms capital project. And C, reallocates $300,000 from the council contribution to the Great Western Club Rooms and Change Rooms capital project to the Navarre Club Rooms and Change Rooms capital project budget and makes an additional contribution of $150,000.
Thank you very much. Can I have a seconder in regard to that motion?
Mr Mayor, I second.
Councillor Stasevich. Councillor Irwin?
Yes, Mr Mayor. Look, this has come about as a result of our staff working extremely hard and acquiring a further amount of $300,000 towards the Great Western project. And so the reallocation will go to the Navarre one, which was a bit short. I think this is a great way to see that both projects are completed and benefit the community.
Thank you. Councillor Stasevich?
Further to that, I think it's fairly important that the community and the committee of management at Navarre, their contribution has to be recognised. Certainly their advocacy, their drive towards the upgrade of their facilities has been commendable, as it has been for Great Western. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors like to speak for or against the motion? Just before I hand back to Councillor Irwin for his summation, it just seems like there's money going several directions, but you can be assured by all of the user groups that nobody will be any worse off in the long run. Thank you, Councillor Irwin.
Well put, Mr Mayor. Yes, look, it's not the intent to make someone worse off. It's the intent to complete both projects. And I must pay compliments to our staff who do a great job in getting value for money for these projects. So it's a well done team.
Thank you. I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Uh, 9.3, the point 1, the asset plan 2022 to 2032. We have a recommendation here. Can I have a motion, please?
Mr Mayor, I move that the Council endorses the asset plan 2022 to 2032.
Thank you, Councillor Stasevich. Can I have a seconder, please?
Happy to second, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Irwin. Councillor Stasevich, like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think it's one of the most amusing points of this discussion that the shortest recommendation I've ever made in this chamber, which consists of, 7 words, contains so much activity. The asset management plan defines for the next decade what will be built, what will be renewed, what will be replaced, what will keep Trenton and his team on their toes to deliver services and infrastructure to our community. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Irwin?
Yes, Mr Mayor, this is an extensive plan. Great credit to the team who've worked on this, and also the community have had considerable input into this plan too. And they've certainly made their feelings known and as to what the expectation of the community is. So, good plan, and hopefully we've got the finances to deliver it.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors have anything to say in relation to the endorsement of the asset plan? If not, I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. (9.4.1), the quarterly finance report. And we have another short recommendation here. If somebody would like to take up a motion, please.
Mr Mayor, I move that Council notes the financial report for the fourth quarter ended the 30th of June 2022.
Thank you, Councillor Irwin. Could I have a seconder, please?
Happy to second, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dempsey. Councillor Irwin?
I've mentioned teams a couple of times today, but we do have a great team in the finance department. And you might see in the report there that we've ended the year with $25.3 million in cash. A wonderful end to the financial year, but let me reassure people that this is earmarked for future projects. So it might look good on paper, but it's already earmarked for future projects, which is good. And I think our team's done a great job in both bringing in money for the Shire and also to be as frugal as possible through the budget process. So well done, and I think this stands us in good stead for this upcoming financial year.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dempsey?
No, nothing to add, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors like to speak for or against the motion? I'm not seeing any, so I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. 9.4.2, the delegations update. And here's a rather lengthy one, so I expect it'll be Councillor Ostasevich might move the motion.
I've taken a great deal of pleasure in being able to read these, except I've just lost my page, which is rather funny. May I?
You can read it off that screen.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's here though.
I can actually see that now. The recommendation is that A, Section 5, Instrument Delegation from Council to the CEO. In the exercise of the powers conferred by Section 11(1)(b) of the Local Government Act 2020, the Act, Council resolves that 1, there be delegated to the person holding the position or acting in or performing the duties of the Chief Executive Officer the powers, duties and functions set out in the attached instrument of delegation to the Chief Executive Officer, subject to the conditions and limitations specified in that instrument. 2, the instrument comes into force immediately upon this resolution being made and is to be signed by the Council Chief Executive Officer and Mayor. 3, on the coming into force of the instrument, all previous delegations to the Chief Executive Officer are revoked. 4, the duties and functions set out in the instrument must be performed and the powers set out in the instrument must be executed in accordance with any guidelines or policies of Council that it may from time to time adopt. The second part, Part B. Section 6, Instrument of Delegation from Council to members of Council staff. In the exercise of the powers conferred by the legislation referred to in the attached instrument of delegation, Council resolves that 1, there be delegated to the members of Council staff holding, acting or in performing the duties of the officers or positions referred to in the attached instrument of delegation to members of the Council staff, the powers, duties and functions set out in that instrument, subject to the conditions and limitations specified in that instrument. 2, the instrument comes into force immediately the instrument is signed. 3, on the coming into force of the instrument, all previous delegations to members of Council staff other than the Chief Executive Officer are revoked. 4, the duties and functions set out in the instrument must be performed and the powers set out in the instrument must be executed in accordance with any guidelines or policies of Council that it may from time to time adopt. Any more? No.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Haswell.
That was much easier.
Councillor Ostasevich, like to speak to the motion?
I would certainly love to speak to the motion, and all I can say is it's all there in the words. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors like to speak for or against the motion? Any summing up by Councillor Ostasevich?
Thank you, Mr Mayor, for the opportunity, but no.
Thank you. I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Mary.
9.4.3, the Community Care Review. And we have a recommendation here. Can I get a motion in regard to that recommendation or some other motion, please?
Yes, Mr Mayor. I'm just trying to find the
Off the screen there, Trev.
You can refer to the screen if you wish.
Sorry about this.
Take your time.
I went past it. Sorry about that. I just went past the motion. I'd like to move the motion that the council makes the determination on the delivery of community care and direct care services. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder in regard to that motion, please? I think the recommendation is just that we deliver the community care direct care services. So can we get a seconder?
Yes, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ostasevich. Councillor Grady, would like to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yes, after having a look at the funding that staff have been able to find, which has been amazing. Noel has done a great job, and the cost to move out of this community care far outweighs. We're much better off staying with it for the cost of the year. And personally, I've spoke to some other councils who've moved away from this, and it puts a lot of pressure on new people coming in and taking on like an extra 300 or 400 people to look after. And I think our group, my mother's uses the community care, and they do an absolutely amazing job. So I'd like to keep it going as is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grady. Just before I call on Councillor Ostasevich, I might just consult with the CEO. We're making the recommendation. Okay. So the recommendation continued on there to be a motion in regard to option number 2. And thank you, Councillor Dempsey. I wasn't reading far enough ahead, quickly enough there. So Councillor Ostasevich, you seconded the motion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Grady, I agree wholeheartedly, 100%. I think our staff perform a terrific service. We have over 420 people that are over 65 years of age in our community that are being taken care of by the council staff who are able to secure funding from federal sources and state sources as well. The cost to our ratepayer base is infinitesimally small to support people that have already supported the Shire and the community over the decades past, and the level of service that we get from our staff for our senior citizens is better placed with us rather than private sector delivery organisations, particularly in our area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just might ask Councillor Grady if he'd like to just clear up the motion in regard to option 2, which has been recommended to us. I think we were a little bit confused there for a minute or two. If you could just read out the motion under option 2.
Yes, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I sort of mixed it up a bit, but I'd like to see option 2, where the council continues to provide direct care services, which includes the subcontracting of Meals on Wheels and the council's investment equivalent to the current $31,000 per annum.
Okay, thank you very much, and we're all on the same page there, I think. Okay, any other councillors like to speak in regard to the motion? Oh, Councillor Irwin.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, look, I fully support this motion. Our people provide a very good service. It might not be the Rolls-Royce service, but it is a very good service, and they take great care of our ageing citizens who deserve that care, I think, and I may need it myself one day.
Perhaps sooner rather than later.
But no, look, they do a great job. Congratulations too on getting that extra funding too. That's taken a good bit of pressure off. So it allows us quite a bit of flexibility in the future, and I think it's a great service to support our ageing population.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors like to speak? If not, I'll ask Councillor Grady. Would you like to sum up, Councillor Grady?
Thank you. Yeah, well, just that we provided, the council staff here provide such a great service, and at the moment I feel we should just stay with this service and see what happens in the next 12 months, 2 years. Maybe things will change, but yeah, that's basically, I can't see that we should go do any changes at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Item number 10, notice of motion or rescission. I'm not seeing any. Reports from councillors or committees, and I'll start with Councillor Ostasevich.
Nearly did the mute thing again. Thank you, Mr Mayor. My memory is starting to fail, and I may well need those services sooner rather than later. But Councillor Dan Straub from Grampians Shire is the new chair of North Central Len. He's got a mighty big set of shoes to fill, but I think he's certainly up to the job, and certainly through this forum I would suggest that we are quite happy to continue to support their work within their remit, which is the northern end of the Shire. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dempsey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll try and keep it brief on the report of what I've been up to in the last month. So Councillor Emerson and myself attended the Store Recreation Advisory meeting where we discussed the master plan as well. It's currently in draft and has gone through consultation with the stakeholders of like the users groups, and will also be coming, a survey will be released shortly for community feedback. So in about a week or two, keep an eye out for that to have your say on that draft plan. I've been involved in a Women for Council group in Northern Grampians Shire of interested females and any other supporters that are keen to be involved in council, and so a community meeting was held in Stawell on females who are keen to run or to support females currently on council, of which maybe there was about 20 people across Northern Grampians Shire that attended, which was great to see their interest in local politics and the community itself and council. We had a workshop with Ruth McGowan, who volunteered her time to provide us with some information on what council's all about, how to run, that sort of thing, to start gaining interest of people moving forward, looking at some succession planning if necessary. And I attended a community session in Manu with some of those women as well. I went to an Alga Vic meeting online, which is the Australian Local Government Women's Association Victoria. I believe all of us, most of us at least, attended the SUPPLE, Stawell Underground Physics Laboratory, Stage 1 grand opening and tour of the facility, and I'm sure everyone can attest to how fabulous it is. And seeing it come from an idea which some of the other councillors have stated through to fruition at least of having such a great facility built underground is a real testament to everyone involved, and I'm sure we'll continue to see some great work in that space. And this week I'm also attending the Advancing Women's Leadership Summit, where Julia Gillard will be a guest speaker, so I'm looking forward to gaining some good insight from that conference as well. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Irwin.
Yes, Mr Mayor, look, have been busy as well. Did have the Walkers Late meeting, which I think it was nearly the first time that we've actually had everyone online, so it was good, and also Jojo Warung attended as well, so a very good meeting actually. And Councillor Grady and I went to the Rural Councils Victoria forum on Friday, which they launched their state election platform at, and the 6 points which they are pressing for the state election are certainly funding around roads, and we did have the Department Secretary there, which had an opportunity to chew his ear, but he is right across the roads and the state of the road, so I think he's hoping for some more money as well, but it was good to catch up with him. Funding for services in rural communities. Obviously, that's always a talking point for smaller rural councils like ours. Housing, which we are getting on top of, and certainly it was surprising how far advanced we are compared to some other councils, so that made us feel quite good. Emergency management. Obviously, there's been quite a few disasters around Australia this year, and also with the foot and mouth, which you had a presentation on, a very good presentation by AgVic on that, and certainly it's a bit of an eye-opener, but they are certainly working hard to try and prevent these diseases from entering, or biohazards, from entering the country. Also, rural tourism always needs a helping hand where possible, and ongoing funding of Rural Councils Victoria. They're the six objectives of the platform.
Thank you very much, Councillor Irwin. Councillor Haswell?
Nothing here today, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Grady?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I attended the meeting with Councillor Irwin and the CEO on last Friday, and I think Kevin summed up pretty well how it all went. I've got a lot of information that I'll share with councillors over the next week that I took. Also, we had a Futures Committee meeting at Great Western, where we were trying to see what we could do with the old Way Bridge, and Trenton's taken that and going to handle it. We've got a volunteer that might come in and do the work for Zilch, so that could be a really good outcome to get it just straightened up and look a lot better than it is. And I went on to the virtual parliament. That was an interesting one, to sit in on that for a couple of hours, but it was very educational for me to sit back, and we got a chance to ask questions to parliamentarians and things, so it was well worth sitting in on. So yeah, I've got a Futures Committee meeting on Wednesday night in Great Western, so I'll report back about that on the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grady. And I think I've covered everybody. I have one report to make, and it's a report that I think not very often should the Mayor be standing when he makes a report, but I think this is a very important report for me to make on behalf of my fellow councillors and all of the people involved within the Northern Grampians Shire, being the staff, being our communities, being all the groups that have anything to do with the Northern Grampians Shire. At 8:45 this morning I had a meeting with the CEO, and she has tendered her resignation for personal reasons. I think it is appropriate for everybody in our community to know that the personal reasons are specifically about Liana's family. She has ageing parents, and she has a husband who hasn't been well recently. So she has tendered her resignation as from the 7th of October this year. I think it's appropriate for me to say to Liana, on behalf of all of my fellow councillors, on behalf of all the staff at the Northern Grampians Shire and everybody in the community, that Liana has diligently worked 3 years of very hard work to put the Northern Grampians Shire in the position that it's in now. We will reluctantly accept your resignation. We will wish you the best of luck. It hasn't just been a journey where you have been the CEO and we have been the councillors and the people in our community have been the community. It has been a journey where we have become very close friends. Sometimes I wonder whether that is right in the government sphere, but that's the way it is with us and with you. It's now a journey that you're going off in another direction. We have to pick up our bits and pieces and make sure we try and find somebody that can take over the great work and the legacy that you've left behind. We wish you well. We will miss you, but we will be keeping in contact with you. Well done, Liana Thompson. And I will give Liana a moment just to speak, if she can compose herself.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, councillors. First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to be your CEO. It has been an absolute joy. This group of councillors are unlike any in the state of Victoria. We work together in partnership, the political arm and the administrative arm. We work with a clear sense of purpose about being the best and providing the best that we can for community now and into the future. You have shown me such support, and we've had a lot of fun, even through COVID. And I think the communities that you represent are incredibly fortunate. I've been incredibly fortunate to lead an organisation that is punching above our weight, is full of people who are talented, committed, work as hard as I've ever seen, and all for the purpose of doing a great job and making sure the work that we do for community suits now and into the future. So it is with a heavy heart that I say cheerio. I will miss this place, and I thank you again for the confidence to lead your organisation, and also for my colleagues who have worked so beautifully with me. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you for that, Liana, and thank you for all the reports from around the councillors. Item number 12 is urgent business. Are there any items of urgent business today?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move a motion of urgent business, please.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder in regard to us dealing with an urgent business item?
Happy to second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Dempsey, your urgent business item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move a recommendation that Council recognise the significant contribution of community member Kay Dalton to netball locally in the form of a plaque located at the North Park netball courts.
Thank you for that. Councillor Irwin?
Yeah, look, I think everyone in Stawell would know Kay's long and dedicated service to netball in Stawell, and I think it's fitting that she'd be recognised for the many, many years of service that Kay has contributed to the Stawell community.
Thank you, and I might return to Councillor Dempsey. I don't think I gave you an opportunity to more publicly address the motion, if you'd like to expand on it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Councillor Irwin summed that up, so that's fine.
Okay, any other councillors like to speak on the motion? I think I need to say something in regard to this motion. I've been around here for a few minutes now, and in the sporting field, Kay Dalton has had around 56 years of involvement in the local netball associations. Not only that, Kay has offered her support to the late Kay Dalton, I should say, has offered her support to numerous organisations throughout our shire, but specifically 56 years of non-stop support for the Stawell Netball Association is outstanding. I think some of the recommendations we've received from community groups in regard to this have just been a wonderful recognition of what Kay has meant to them. We've spoken to the families. They're over the moon about the fact that we're recommending that Kay's name be etched in stone at the side of the netball courts for the rest of eternity. It's a wonderful accolade to a lady that has done outstanding work for our community, specifically with the Netball Association. So I think it's a fantastic motion, and I'm sure I don't have to call for a vote because I know what the vote will be, but I do have to call for a vote. So all in favour of the motion? Against? Carried. Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Councillor Dempsey, for bringing that up. Any public question time today? I'm not seeing any. We've got a number of items to deal with in closed council, so could I get a motion in regards to us going into closed council, please?
We enter into closed council, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Irwin.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Haswell. All in favour? Against? Carried. So the meeting will now be closed while we discuss some confidential matters in closed council. And I'll hand over to the CEO to report on the business of council during closed council.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So during the closed session of council, council have resolved the following circumstances. Sorry, I'm just reading from the... let me get my... It doesn't tell me what I have to do. So 14.1, council has agreed to take up the second and final one-year option to extend contract C1 2020-21, provision of civil engineering and project management consultancy services with a panel of experienced and qualified civil engineers. 14.2, council has agreed to extend contract C2 2018-19, provision of building inspector unlimited services for the second and final one-year extension commencing 1st October 2022 and concluding 30 September 2023. 14.3, council has agreed to take up the first one-year option to extend contract C10 2018-19 bituminous surfacing program. You think I'd get that after all this time? Surfacing program commencing 1st November 2022 with the current contractor Inroads Proprietary Limited. 14.4, council has awarded contract C2 2022-23, provision of plumbing service and appointed the following tenders to the panel of preferred contractors: Anthony Rickard Proprietary Limited, Elmhurst Plumbing trading as Wimmera Drainage, HGP Civil Proprietary Limited, LPH Proprietary Limited trading as Laser Plumbing Horsham, IRCD Lewis trading as Link Drainage. 14.5, council has awarded contract C3 2022-23, provision of electrical trade services and appointed the following tenderers to the panel of preferred contractors: R&J Murphy, K&S Berthsill Proprietary Limited, Coots Electrical and Data Proprietary Limited trading as Laser Electrical Horsham. 14.6, council has awarded contract C1 2022-23, external plant and equipment hire for civil works and appointed the following contractors onto the panel: Armstrong Concrete Stall Proprietary Limited, DADM Maloney, David West, DSM Equipment Proprietary Limited, Forest Springs Holdings Proprietary Limited, Reeves Earth Moving Proprietary Limited, Graham Mackay Earthworks, Grampians Excavations Proprietary Limited, Stall Bobcat and Excavations Proprietary Limited, Warren Earthworks, PJM Machinery Proprietary Limited, Stabilico Proprietary Limited, Stabilised Pavements of Australia, Tut Bryant Hire Proprietary Limited, On Track Rentals Proprietary Limited, Porter Hire Proprietary Limited, Proto Excavations Proprietary Limited, Gavlex Proprietary Limited, Rollers Australia Proprietary Limited, TBD Architecture Trading Proprietary Limited. 14.7, council has agreed to refuse the fee waiver for a planning application and approve the refund and part refund of fees for 2 planning applications. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Madam CEO, and I think you've taken over the mantle of the longest speaking person in the Northern Grampians Shire meeting procedures. Just one thing before we close the meeting that I omitted to do, because I'm only new at this game, and this is only my second council meeting since the loss of our late friend Tony Driscoll, and I need to officially announce that this council meeting is being recorded and live streamed to council's YouTube channel. The recording will also be made available on the council website. Whilst all care has been taken to ensure that your privacy is maintained, please be aware that your presence may be recorded. I know it's a little bit late, but better late than never. Thank you very much, everybody, for your participation in the council meeting today. Some furthermore terrific decisions have been made for the benefit of our local communities, and I thank you all very much for that. I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you.